Let's talk about one of my followers and how she was tricked into selling her soul. If you're new here, hi. I usually talk about pretty scary stuff, and I have an email where anyone finds this page because I'm here to ghost stories. And this is one of the submissions, so let's get into it. This story comes from Sam, who starts off her whole email by saying that she watched one of my other videos where I specifically talk about another experience that somebody else had in selling their soul. She also says that this is her own encounter and it's more so to bring awareness to the situation of how easy it is to do something like this, especially if it's unintentional. And what I'm gathering from this email is that Sam is a very spiritually in tune person and specifically is able to feel the presences and has had childhood experiences with spirits. But long story short, she started meditating to find comfort in silence and eventually came into contact with a spirit slash presence that she could not see, but she was able to have a full-on conversation with this man. They're going back and forth, and eventually she cracks a joke and she is like, I have no real goals or aspirations in my life since my diagnosis, and I don't think anybody would want to buy my soul no matter what I offered for it. And this is where things get a little scary because she didn't hear back from that voice she was hearing and eventually just kind of dozed off into sleep. And she specifically says in the email that she just dozed off because she didn't think that she was a good client for whoever she was talking to. But following this conversation with whoever she spoke to, she has an unnaturally vivid dream. And in the dream, she is specifically signing a contract to buy a house. And this real estate agent is just smiling the whole time and says, I wish you a very great life in this house. And then she just wakes up. And what's super crazy is that this was such a vivid dream that she actually woke up and thought that she had bought a house and signed a contract with this person. And as she's going through her morning routine, she is realizing that there is something off, there's something wrong. Specifically, she had these family heirlooms that were gone. And the pouch that she used to put all of these things in was also moved. But the thing that got her to realize that she might have made a mistake with this unseen person was the fact that the Christmas lights that she had in her room were plugged into an outlet. And the reason why the Christmas lights in particular sold her finally on what had happened is she likes to sleep in complete darkness and remembers unplugging the Christmas lights before she went to bed. And now they are plugged in and turned on. And as she's looking at these Christmas lights, she sees somebody out of the corner of her eye and a hand come up around her shoulder. But what's very strange about the situation is that all of the anxiety left her body and she felt like the presence that was standing behind her was coming from a good place. However, the Christmas light situation was only the beginning of this entire thing, and Sam proceeded to have one of the best days of her life, and she suffers from a disorder where her brain is telling the rest of her body that it is in pain. She says it felt like she woke up and somebody gave her a new body. And she says the scariest part about this whole thing is that she's actually at peace, but she was definitely tricked into doing this. And I think the most interesting part for me is a detail that she included in the email that said, these malevolent spirits that she had been seeing since she was a child, she no longer sees since signing this contract in her dream. But at the end of her email, she says that she just wants people to be cautious about things in the spiritual realm that they think are BS because they probably aren't. And it could result in a situation similar to this. But that's going to do it for me. Stay tuned for more ghost stories.
I actually fell asleep, and this is what I woke up to. Elizabeth. Baby. Hey.
Goodbye.
Okay, no, for real, like... So, what are we doing? Oh. Okay. Are you friendly?
We're moving.
I don't think it's, like, irritated. I fell asleep out here, and I promise you she didn't place it there. Last night, I blessed this cup before I went to bed. So, we're gonna do this together. I'm gonna have Elizabeth hold the phone. Okay, so, in Jesus' name, power cross compels you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I don't think it's evil, man. You know, because it'd be like, oh, somebody said salt. Hold on.
I don't know if you're supposed to draw a circle around it.
Well, it's a half circle, but I don't think you're supposed to do anything else. I don't know. Y'all got suggestions? Let me know.
Let's read some more scary Reddit stories. These are all kind of random. There's no real theme for this video, just creepy vibes. Christmas night out quite a few years ago. We were all in a large bar. One of my colleagues was really drunk. Not victim blaming, but it drew attention from a creepy guy. She was also really tiny. I was sitting in a separate group and noticed this man staring at my colleague, not in a, ooh, she's pretty way, more of a predatory sizing her up and shifting position so he could keep staring. He really gave me the creeps, but nobody else noticed as they were all messing around, going up for dances, the usual. I ended up alerting one of the male managers, who watched the guy and agreed he was indeed stalking our colleague. And he had a word with her pals, and they kept her close and didn't leave her alone at all. Scary guy clocked me and started stalking me instead. He even tried following me to the toilets, which were quite remote from the bar. Luckily, my manager and another pal followed him, so he went back to the bar. I was really freaking out, so I spoke to the bouncers and explained what was going on. Creepy man got kicked out, we could all relax. Except he started staring at me through the window. He looked absolutely furious, and I was even more scared. At closing time, I had to run to the casino next door so I could wait inside for a taxi. The doorman was really kind and hid me from the guy who was staring at me through the door. He even escorted me to my taxi, and I got home safely. About a year later, the scary guy was front page news. He had raped and unalived a young woman who he followed home from a bar. I still feel sick when I think about it. Driving home after a day date with my partner, it was the evening and dark out. We were driving along a country road and something very large appeared to jump or take flight on our left side from the verge, over the top of the car, and into the night sky. We both saw it, and neither of us could explain what we had seen. The only way either of us could describe it was like the creature in Jeepers Creepers. Similarity was uncanny, human-like with giant wings. We both felt extremely uneasy. We have birds of prey here in Scotland, but nothing that would come close to what we saw. We're both scientists and very rational people. Neither of us had been drinking. Still gives me the chills to think about, and that image will never leave me. So I live in Eastern Oregon, and my mom lives in Western Oregon. I went to visit her for the summer, and she's very outdoorsy, so we decided to take the 1-hour drive from her city to the coast. We end up at this free campsite at the top of this hill, huge foothills of the coastal mountains, about a 25-minute drive from the top where the campsite is to the bottom where the main road was, and we were the only campers there. We relaxed for the rest of the day, made food, etc. A truck full of men drive up the hill and talk with my mom. I don't know what about, wasn't suspicious at the time, and they leave us. Fast forward to the middle of the night. I wake up to my mom sitting straight up in the tent. I wake up easily, so I heard her gasp, and it woke me. As soon as she saw I was awake, she put her hand over my mouth because I was starting to ask her what's wrong. It was dead silent, and all of a sudden, you hear footsteps right beside the tent. The little flap that covers the zipper was even moving. Thankfully, my mom has quick wits and said very loudly, "Kenny, grab the gun." Kenny is my dad, although that doesn't matter, and mind you, he was not there, just as girls like I previously said. They left. No harm was done. Thank the Lord for my mom. While at uni, my friends and I ran out of booze. Hardly any shops were open because it was late, so the only option was to walk the mile or so to the nearest 24-hour supermarket. Between the supermarket and the dorms we lived in was just a row after row of suburban houses which all looked the same. As we were walking down one road, we passed a field with a large campfire and some people riding horses around it. There were people playing musical instruments and general sounds of a good time going on. The horses and fire and the lanterns which were dotted about gave it a very old-fashioned feel. Maybe 5 minutes after passing the field, now walking past houses again, one of my friends commented on how weird and out of place that gathering of people had been. My other friend and I had been thinking exactly the same thing, so, curious, we turned around and walked back to find out exactly what was going on. There was nothing there. Not just no people or horses, there was no field. just more and more houses. Even though we were absolutely certain we were on the right road, as we'd simply turned around, we walked up and down the neighboring roads too. We found nothing. We weren't drunk, though we'd had some drinks, so I've got absolutely no idea what happened that night. Ooh, those were so fun to read. The second one, y'all, can we circle back to that, please? Jeepers Creepers in Scotland? No, thank you. And also the story in Oregon about the girl and her mom going camping. That mom was so smart, and kudos to her for thinking so quickly and making it seem like they had a man and a firearm with them, because that saved their lives.
Here is a horror story that happened to me and my best friend. If you don't believe in paranormal activity, just scroll because I'm not going to argue with you guys in the comments. So basically, for a little bit of background information, every single time my best friend comes over, no matter the weather or anything, we usually watch a scary movie and then go for a walk. Don't ask why, that's just what we like to do, and usually there's like Taco Bell or some food in there too, but that's just what we do. We were like, let's go for a walk. Now, where we chose to go for a walk might have been where the part where we messed up, but we always go back here. Like, I go back here with my other friends. Like, usually it's fine. I've had 1 or 2 experiences back there, but that's for another time. Basically, it's like houses lined up, and behind their house and behind their backyard, it's like a small pathway where you can walk. And the pathway leads to train tracks and like a park. It's not even like a park. It just has swings and this huge slide. That's it. So I think it's like dead summer, and we immediately walk outside and a huge cold breeze just smacks me in the face. And I specifically remember that because right after that, I just got this bad like tension in my body that I didn't like at all. And I kind of like brushed it off just because I wanted to go for a walk. Like, I was bored. So like I didn't say anything, but she was feeling the same exact thing. And I figured that out after this happened. So maybe we both should have just spoke up, but whatever. Since we were both feeling a little like scared and, you know, tensed up, Aubrey started telling me a story, and I don't know what it was about. I think it was like this girl stealing someone's boyfriend. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but the most important part is when she was telling the story, she specifically said they were saying this girl had a weird face. And I don't know if this was actually what happened, but in my head, she kept repeating it. She kept saying, this girl had a really weird face. Again, I don't know if she was actually repeating that or if that's just the thing that stuck out to me. But in my head, she said that 10 times. She was just like, she had such a weird looking face. Like, Megan, it looks so weird. It's like, I don't know. That's just like the only thing I remember her saying. And then she said something about like it looking like disformed. And I was like, all right, okay, let's stop. I was like, all right, let's stop, because I got this god awful looking scary girl in my head and I could not get it out. Specifically remember a huge ass cold breeze smacking my face again, and that's when I was like, oh my fucking god, my body like tensed up. I got like the chills, and I wanted to say, Aubrey, we need to turn back, we need to go back. Like, something in my head was saying, go back, go back, go back, go back. And we kept walking. Just because sometimes I don't know if it's just because I'm being a pussy or if it's my body actually telling me go the fuck back. So I was like, okay, maybe you're just scared, keep walking. So we kept walking. Okay, I'm getting kind of scared because my room's in the basement and like the door's right there. I don't like, it's like too quiet right now. It's okay. We're walking and we hear 2 branches crack behind us, and I'm like, I shoot my head back and I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, yeah. I was like, it's fine, Aubrey, just keep walking. So we keep walking and we hear more movement behind us, not trees like or branches cracking, like more like just like movement, like kind of like bushes moving. And I was like, bro, do you hear that or am I tripping? And she's like, no, I hear it, Megan. So I'm like, okay, whatever, just stay calm. And then it happened the 3rd time and we bolted. Like, we didn't even see anything at this time, we just ran, right? Aubrey was a little ahead of me because the thing is like anytime anything like this happens, I like when everyone's in front of me just so I can like make sure everyone's there. And right behind Aubrey, and you guys saying this, I know you guys are not going to believe me, but you please believe me because I'm not lying. Like, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, not lying. And I was almost throwing up and crying after this, like, genuinely. So standing behind Aubrey, well, chasing Aubrey actually, is this tall black man with a long stretched out face. He didn't really have a face. He just had like a long mouth and like long eyes, kind of like that, all black body. And he was like hovering over Aubrey because it's like he was right there. He could have like got Aubrey if he wanted to, but he was just like kind of pacing, like this was Aubrey and this was him, and he was just like kind of pacing with her, if that makes sense. And I'm just like running, like I'm running basically next to it, and I'm just like looking up at it. Like I didn't say anything, like I didn't. So we get to one of like the houses, because like I said, we're a pathway behind houses. So we come out where we can like kind of run out in one of their front yards, if that makes sense. So we get there, and I like put my hands on my knees like this, and I'm breathing heavy, and I'm crying, and Aubrey's like, Megan, what was that? What the fuck was that? And I'm like I can't breathe, because I don't think she saw it. If I'm wrong, Aubrey, correct me in the comments. I don't think she saw it, but I'm out of breath, like crying, and I'm like, Aubrey, I'm gonna throw up. I can't catch my breath. And she's like trying to hold me and like walk me down the court, because basically I live on courts, and so we were trying to get to the end to get like to the main thing, if that makes sense. If you guys want me to, I can like always pull up a map and explain it, but that's like, I don't know. And so we're walking, and I'm not even joking. You can tell. I'm just looking back every single second. I'm like, I'm not joking. I tell Aubrey, you look forward, I'll look back, because we need to make sure like that wasn't someone real. Even though deep down, I knew it wasn't, because he was right there. He was literally right there. I just heard something on my door. No one better try to scare me right now, because I will actually fucking kill someone. I'm actually scared. And thinking back to this, oh my god, now I'm hearing shit. We got back, and I'm like crying, and I don't even know what we do. Oh yeah, we come in my room. We sit down, still out of breath. And then that's when we kind of like calm down a little, because, you know, we're in my room, we're safe. But we're still like looking around my room, like we don't want to leave my room. Like it was just so bad. I don't know, but whatever it is, we haven't gone back since. So, yeah. But thanks for watching my story time, guys. If you guys want more, comment, because I have so many more, because stuff has happened in my house, at other people's houses, around my house, and yeah. So, love you guys. Bye.
I worked as a night guard at a grocery store. They left a strange set of rules. I'm trying out a longer storytelling. This is a story that I came across on No Sleep that I feel like hasn't gotten enough attention. You guys can let me know if you like some longer ones mixed in with my shorter ones for you to maybe just listen to when you're doing things, okay? I saw the job listing 2 weeks ago. Wanted. Night guard at West Market in Redacted, PA. 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift, $21 an hour. The whole thing struck me as odd right off the bat. What kind of grocery store needed a security guard while it was closed? Was the crime really that bad? But I needed money badly, and 2 days later, after a phone interview with a man named Clive, I showed up for my first shift. As soon as I pulled up, I sort of understood why they needed a night guard. The grocery store sat at the edge of a rundown strip mall. Large signs reading "Space for Rent" hung in the store windows, but judging by the dusty glass and flickering street lamps, no one had taken them up on the offer in years. I parked near the front door. As I approached the building, I saw a woman hurrying away from the store. "You must be Erin," she said breathlessly. "The night guard?" "That's me. Clive left you some instructions. I put them on the conveyor belt at Register 1. She gave me a polite nod and then stepped around me, heading for the only other car in the parking lot. "Oh, thanks. Be friendly," my inner voice scolded. "She's your new coworker." I turned around. "Hey, what's your name?" But she was already diving into the car. The door slammed, the car reeled out of the parking space, and then she was gone. So much for a new friend. I turned back towards the store. The parking lot was completely empty now, and the nearest street light was flickering with an odd, erratic rhythm. A cold wind swept in, whipping a crumpled paper bag across the parking lot. Well, here goes nothing. I stepped up to the front. The glass doors squeaked as they parted for me, and then I stepped inside. Despite its outward appearance, the store was actually pretty nice inside. Bright fluorescent lights shone from overhead, jazzy music playing from the hidden speakers. I headed over to Register 1, where a folded piece of paper was waiting for me. I flipped it open and began to read. "Dear Erin, welcome to the West family. We sincerely hope you enjoy your first shift. To help you, we've compiled a list of rules that should make your shift as easy as our fresh-baked apple pie. Number 1. As night guard, you are expected to patrol the store every half hour, making sure that nothing is amiss.
You may spend the rest of your time in the break room at the back of the store monitoring the security camera feeds. Number 2, do not go down aisle 7. Do not look down aisle 7. Number 3, if you hear a knocking sound coming from within the freezers in the frozen food aisle, ignore it. Number 4, if you see a shopping cart that hasn't been put away, please return it to the shopping carts at the front of the store immediately. Number 5, do not be alarmed if you find a pool of blood in the meat aisle. Sometimes our meat packages leak. Simply head to the storage closet, get the mop and bucket, and clean it up. However, do not step in the puddle or touch it in any way. Number 6, if you see a woman in the store, immediately go to the break room and stay there until she leaves. Do not call the police or report a break-in. Do not make eye contact with her. Number 7, the music we play throughout the store is a pre-recorded disc of instrumental jazz. If the music ever stops, immediately go to the break room and stay there until it resumes. Number 8, do not, under any circumstances, end your shift early. Thank you so much again. I hope you enjoy your shift. Clive. I stared at the rules, rereading them slowly. They were so weird. A woman in the store? Avoid aisle 7. I'd never been given instructions like this, even when I worked as a bouncer at a nightclub in a bad part of town. Maybe it was a test. They wanted to see how well I could follow instructions, no matter how absurd they were. I looked up at the security camera, staring down at me from the corner. Okay, challenge accepted. I glanced at my phone, 12:06. Might as well get my first patrol out of the way before getting settled in. It was odd walking through the store when it was so empty and quiet. All the breads and muffins had been stored away somewhere. White opaque plastic had been pulled down over the vegetable display to keep the cold in. When I got to the end, I made a right into the meat section. Sheets of plastic had been pulled over the meat coolers too. I saw flashes of red through the gaps of massive ribeye and sirloin steaks, big slabs of meat on the bone still intact. I averted my eyes. While I wasn't a vegetarian, I never really liked the sight of raw meat. I turned instead to the aisles. Aisle 3, pasta and sauces all lined up on the shelves, glinting in the fluorescent light. Aisle 4, cookies and snacks. Aisle 5, aisle 6. Oh, right. I wasn't supposed to look at aisle 7. I forced myself to look down at the floor. Yeah, it was stupid, but they told me not to look. In the off chance that they were going to check the CCTV footage later to grade my performance, I was going to follow every rule. I continued further into the store. A few minutes later, I found the break room, a nondescript brown door with a little square window cut into it. I took note of its location for later. As soon as I was done with this patrol, I was going to break out my laptop and finish watching Friday the 13th. And then I was at the west end of the store, the frozen section. I turned down the aisle, heading back towards the front. That's when I saw it. A shopping cart parked askew in the middle of the aisle. I huffed. Of all the rules, this was the one that annoyed me the most. I was hired to be a security guard, not a cleanup crew. Wasn't it the employee's job to put all the carts away at closing time? Sighing, I began pushing it towards the front of the store. The wheels rolled smoothly beneath me. The jazz music played softly in my ears. I turned the corner and walked past the cash registers, heading towards the front door. That's when I heard it. A soft sound, barely audible over the jazz music. I stopped, straining my ears to listen. Several seconds of silence went by, and then I heard it again. It sounded like someone crying. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. There's no one in here. The door's been locked the whole time. Unless a customer had accidentally stayed past closing time. Maybe that employee, the woman I'd run into in the parking lot, didn't notice them and locked up before they could get out. "Who's there?" I called out. A wailing sob in response. My heart plummeted. It sounded like a woman, or possibly even a child. "I'm coming," I called, breaking into a run. "Where are you?" They didn't reply. They just kept sobbing. I frantically continued in the direction of the sound, calling out to them, telling them that everything would be okay. But then I stopped. The sound, it was coming from aisle 7. Do not go down aisle 7. Do not look down aisle 7. The rules have been very clear about that. I stopped just short of the aisle, next to an end cap display of mayonnaise, and carefully positioned myself so that I was hidden. "I'm going to help you," I called out. "Can you tell me what happened?" They finally spoke, but they didn't answer my question. "Help me," the voice cried through sobs. "Please." I wanted to step into the aisle. My foot was already halfway off the floor, ready to run in there and comfort them, but something stopped me. A gut instinct, a little alarm bell going off in my head, because out of all the aisles, What were the chances that this person would be on aisle 7? And besides, they were safe. They were in an empty store with me. It's not like they were in a dark alleyway in the middle of the night. Come out of the aisle, I called, my voice shaking a little. Then I'll be able to help you. Please, the voice replied. Help me. This is stupid. Clearly some person got stuck in here after closing time and they're scared. Just go into the aisle and help them get home. But there was another part of my brain, the instinctual lizard brain part, and it was screaming at me to not move a muscle. Do you need me to call someone? I tried. Your parents? Or family? The police? Help me, the voice pleaded again. The help me? It sounded the same each time they said it. A little stutter at the beginning, an emphasis on me. It almost sounded like a recording or some AI-generated thing looping over and over. It didn't sound natural. Come out of the aisle, I shouted. Come out and I'll help you. The sobs got louder, faster, and hysterical. Help me, the voice pleaded again in a desperate tone that made my stomach twist. I stood there, pressed against the mayonnaise display. Listening to them sob was making my stomach flip-flop, even if it did sound slightly unnatural. I could call the police, I thought. They'd know what to do. Except I'd left my cell phone with my backpack at cash register 1, and getting it would mean crossing aisle 7. The rules didn't say anything about walking past aisle 7. They just said I shouldn't go down it or look down it. And I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. What if there really was someone who needed help? A child who sprained their ankle and couldn't get up? Don't worry, I'm getting my phone and I'm calling the police. I called out, and then I took a deep breath and stepped across the threshold of aisle 7 towards register 1. As soon as I took a step, the crying stopped. Just like that, violent sobbing, and then, in an instant, nothing. Like a switch had flipped. Then the footsteps started. Loud, slapping footsteps of someone running down the aisle, way too large to be a child. Coming straight at me. My heart dropped. It's a trap. They're coming for me, and I'm probably gonna die here. But as soon as I made it across the aisle, the sound stopped. All I heard were soft jazz tunes playing through the speakers overhead. I hightailed it to the break room, completely forgetting about the cart I was supposed to return. The break room was small and cramped. The little square window in the door had been blacked out with construction paper from the inside. The only source of light came from the computer screen on the desk, displaying the security camera feeds. I scrolled through the feeds. I quickly noticed that none of them offered coverage of aisle 7. It seemed like the cameras were intentionally placed to avoid the aisle. After searching the grainy black and white video for anything amiss, I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. When I finally opened them again, it was almost 12:30. Time for my next patrol. I didn't want to go. I felt safe here, locked up in this little room. But I also knew I wouldn't be safe if I didn't listen to the rules. Okay, I'm only going to do them in like 10-minute pieces because I don't want them to be insanely long, but let me know if you want part 2.
Do not listen to this scary story at nighttime or right before you're going to bed. Because I love you so much, I'm giving you this warning because what the fuck? So typically I listen to a lot of Spanish scary stories because I like translating them for you guys. I typically listen to these when my husband's asleep next to me and I'm just like scrolling story through story, right? I will say when I listened to this story, I got full body chills, right? But I was like, okay, cool, I'm saving this. This is gonna be a good ass story, and I just kept going. A lot of the times you guys ask me in my comments like, how do you sleep after reading all these stories? And I'm gonna be honest, I sleep perfectly well. Like typically I'm not scared, and I wasn't scared last night, which is why it's so weird that I had a dream about this fucking story. I guess this story really impacted me more than I thought. So I'm gonna translate the story for you guys, and then I'm gonna tell you the dream that I had at the very end. So there was this girl, she was around 15 or 16 years old, and she lived with her mom. Unfortunately, her mom lost her job and they had no money, so they ended up losing their house as well. So one of the mom's family members tells them that they have a house that they can live in because they didn't want them to be homeless, but unfortunately this house was like away from civilization. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by like hills and mountains, but since the mom and daughter had nowhere else to go, they accepted the offer and decided to go live in this house. They end up going to the house, and when they get there, they notice the strangest thing ever. Right in front of the door is this big ass tree. Like the the tree was so big that when they would try to open the front door, it would be hitting that tree. So the mom thought it was really strange that the tree would be like right in front of the front door. So the people who actually gave him a ride to that house noticed the tree as well, and they told the mom that if she wanted to, they can also help her remove that tree so that it doesn't stop the front door from opening. And she agreed, so they decided to do it then and there. When they removed that tree, on the roots of like where the tree was growing, they see like a skeleton of a baby. The mom says that it looked like maybe someone had buried the baby a very long time ago, because the bones of the baby skeleton were just being eaten by the roots of that tree. She said that they didn't end up telling anybody about it. She just, had the tree removed, they saw that, and they just like moved on with their lives. Time passes, and in this house, it's a 2-bedroom home. It's a little small, but it does have a hallway that leads to both of the rooms. Both the mom and the daughter start hearing noises in the hallway, and they realize that it sounds like a little baby. She even said it doesn't sound like an animal, it didn't sound like a kid, there was no like steps walking, it sounded like a baby playing in the hallway. So the mom almost felt guilty because she felt like something had happened there. I mean, they found the baby bones, and she just felt really bad that maybe the baby ghost was there. So she started leaving out baby toys in the hallway. I already have chills. So after leaving the toys in the hallway, the mom says that they would then start hearing this baby playing with those specific toys that were left out for it. She mentions that nothing scary would happen, but she did feel that over time, the baby's energy was growing and growing. So one day, the mom and daughter get into a really big fight. And I mean, they were screaming at each other, like they were going at it, and the daughter ends up going to her room and like slamming the door, and mom also goes to her room and slams the door. So when the mom goes into her room, slams the door, and sits alone, she realizes that maybe she was a little tough on her daughter. Mom felt so bad and so guilty that she's like, I'm gonna go to her room and I'm gonna, apologize, and let's try to talk through it. So the mom goes and she knocks on her daughter's door, and of course the daughter didn't answer because she was pissed. After the daughter not answering her door, the mom still decided to open the door, and she starts off with, look, I really need to talk to you. And then she stays silent. The daughter was laying on her bed and she was like, what? That's when the mom was like, get up and come with me. And the daughter's like, what? And the mom's like, get up and come with me. The daughter's like, I thought you wanted to talk to me. And she goes, shut up, get up and come with me. So once the daughter realizes that something is going on, because the mom was really seriously telling her to get up, she gets up. Her mom grabs her by the hand, they leave her bedroom, close her bedroom door, and the mom takes her back to her own room. So the mom explains that when she opened her daughter's door and told her, I need to talk to you, she looks at her daughter that's laying on the bed, and she sees a baby on top of her daughter's chest. She says that the baby was not a normal baby. When the mom was telling her daughter, get up and come with me, that baby would hold on to her daughter even tighter, looking at the mom and smiling at her. Oh my god, look at my heart. I think the reason why I imagine these stories in my head, so I'm seeing this shit like a movie in my brain. Can you imagine? She walked in there feeling so guilty that she got into a fight with her mom, tries to talk to her, and fucking sees a baby on her daughter's chest. As she's telling her, get up and let's go, baby hugs her daughter tighter while looking at her smiling. They left that house that night and never looked back, didn't go back to investigate, didn't want to know what the fuck happened there, because at that point, it wasn't just a little innocent baby ghost, because she saw a baby, but it was not a normal looking baby. Now for my dream. So in my dream, I'm laying in bed. Leave it to me to take naps in my dream too. And next to me is one of my exes, because my dream wasn't scary enough. And in my dream, I'm waking up because I'm feeling something crawling up my body. And when this thing finally gets to the very top, I see a scary looking baby with fucking crazy teeth. And you know how like in your dreams you can't fight, it's like slow motion? Well, as soon as I saw that face, my hand was like trying to push it away. I mean, the baby was like biting my hand, and I was like, what do I do? Because I'm moving so slowly. I was pushing that baby towards my ex who was still asleep, because what the fuck, take him, not me. But this baby wouldn't give up. It kept trying to come at me, and to the point where I'm slowly moving my fucking head away. It doesn't sound as scary, but like, it was fucked up in my dream, okay? So the baby's still crawling, and once it's like face to face to me, I guess I got so spooked that I woke myself up. All it had to do was go to my ex, like, why the fuck would you want me? But no, I got really scared. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was I dreaming about right now? Anyway, I hope you don't have dreams about this story.
Okay, so in honor of October, tomorrow is Halloween, and I thought, why not tell you guys a true scary story? Before I start though, I do want to tell you guys that I know there are a lot of people out there that do not believe in the paranormal, and that is totally okay. That is totally fine. I don't care. But these are true stories and experiences that I've encountered or that my family has encountered. Both of my parents were born in Oaxaca, Mexico, so most of these stories happened in Oaxaca. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of context. Both of my parents grew up very, very fucking poor, okay? So they didn't live in the city. They lived up in Las Montañas, meaning to get to the city, they would have to walk 3 to 4 hours. Since they grew up very fucking poor, they didn't have a bathroom like most of the people in the city did. And my parents also didn't have electricity. All they would use is candles. That's if they even had money for candles. This specific story happened to my mom. Okay, so this is my mom's experience. Around 2 a.m., my mom hears something. Obviously, it wakes her up from her fucking sleep, okay? She turns around and she sees it's my grandma. Okay, side note, like I mentioned before, my grandma and my mom lived 3 to 4 hours away from the city, okay? So she told me that every couple days, maybe like twice a week, you would have to go to the city with your cubeta because they were giving away maíz to make tortillas. So yes, around 2 a.m. my grandma had to wake up like twice a week to make it to the city on time to fill her cubeta up with maíz. So she had to bring it back and she would have to make the tortillas. My mom woke up to the sound of my grandma getting ready, and she had asked her where she was going, and obviously they had a little conversation there. You know, she was telling her like, oh, I'm gonna go to the city because I have to go get maíz to make the tortillas. And obviously my mom, being young, she wanted to tag along. So my mom kept insisting like, no, let me tag along. And obviously my grandma was like, no, like, girl, you have to fucking stay and take care of your fucking siblings, you know? Like, my mom was like the second or third oldest, I don't remember, but she does tell her like, no, like, she's trying to convince her to stay home. And obviously my mom's being fucking like, obviously we're all kids at one point, right? Who doesn't want to fucking tag along with their fucking mom? My grandma got tired of my mom's shit and she's like, you know what, fuck it, you're tagging along, you're coming with me. Okay, so they both finished getting ready, and my mom grabs her little bucket, and so does my grandma. So, you know, like, they're ready to fucking head out. As they're fucking walking, not even an hour goes by, okay? My mom hears footsteps behind her, and she tells my grandma, hey, I hear footsteps. I think there's somebody behind us. And my grandma tells her, oh, okay, well, whatever you do, don't look back. Like, keep walking forward because we have to make it on time to the city. So my grandma's just telling my mom, like, hey, like, don't worry about it. It's just other people that are also walking to the city to go get maíz to make tortillas. So this kind of calms my mom down a little bit. And she's like, okay, you know what? Like, you're right. So they keep walking, and my mom still fucking hears these footsteps, okay? My mom at this point didn't really care because she obviously thought like, okay, yeah, it's other people walking to the city because they also want to grab maíz. Okay, keep in mind that they're 3 to 4 hours away from the fucking city, okay? At this point, they have been walking for about an hour and a half, and my mom starts to get kind of confused because if there are people behind her, how come they haven't caught up? So she tugs on my grandma and she tells her like the footsteps are getting closer, but no one is passing us. Like, what the fuck is going on? My grandma knows what the fuck is going on. So she tells my mom, it's just the people, you know, keep your fucking head straight, keep walking, and don't look back. So she keeps telling my mom, like, don't fucking look back. Whatever you do, don't look back. So at this point, my mom fucking is freaking out. She knows something is fucking going on. She knows that whatever is behind her is not another person. She knows it's paranormal. They're about 2 hours into this walk, and my mom tells her, okay, let's turn back and let's go home. Obviously, my grandma is fucking angry at this point. She's like, you're just scared. We are halfway there, okay? You just need to get your shit together and keep walking. So at this fucking point, my grandma is irritated, and she is scolding my mom. She keeps telling her, like, okay, la próxima vez ya no te voy a traer, porque si vas a seguir así, pues, ¿por qué te voy a traer? You know, she's basically telling her, like, why the fuck am I bringing you next time if you're gonna keep acting like this? My mom is trying to catch up to my grandma because my grandma is so irritated that she walks ahead of her. And as my mom is trying to catch up, she says that the footsteps get closer to her. And eventually, she feels something grab her back. With no fucking hesitation, my mom runs. She runs. As soon as she catches up to my grandma, she tells her what she felt. She said that she felt something grab her back, and my grandma at this point, she's fucking angry because she realizes that my mom had lost her cubeta. Fucking grandma, it doesn't even give a fuck. Like, she is irritated as fuck with my mom. Like, my mom had just lost her cubeta, so there's no point in her fucking tagging along if she wasn't gonna bring her cubeta to get the fucking maíz. My grandma proceeds to tell my mom, por eso no te quise traer, like, this is why I didn't want to fucking bring you, because I knew you would act like this. Okay, so my mom starts to hear the footsteps again. So this time, curiosity fucking got to her. So as she turns around, she sees this fucking shit. Okay, and my mom immediately fucking falls to the floor because she's obviously fucking shocked, you know? As a fucking child, when you see this shit, what the fuck do you even do? She also tells me that she remembers the eyes were really, really big and it had sharp teeth. The mouth was wide open and it was just staring at my mom. Like, obviously, she's at loss for words. She doesn't know how to tell my grandma what she fucking saw. But as soon as she got a fucking grip and she was able to talk, she tells my grandma what she saw. So yes, my grandma knew what the fuck she was talking about. Because like I mentioned before, this is not the first time my grandma has walked the same route. She has done this before to get to the city. Okay, I think I might have to make a fucking part 2 because I'm out of time.
You guys want to hear a scary story? It reminds me a lot of Insidious, but it's real. One time when I was babysitting these 2 girls, talked about them in a video before this. We were going to call the older one Luna and the younger one Aura. That's what I called them last time. I was babysitting, and the older one had an imaginary friend that she called Pete. I would always sense weird energy in this house. Disturbing, dark, like not good, friendly Casper the Ghost. And then one time, the oldest Luna at the time was, I want to say she was 3 or 4. And the baby, Aura, was like 6 months old. And I had put Aura down for bed. Put her in her little swaddle, got her all set up. She was snug as a bug, cute, perfect sleeping. And me and Luna were out in the living room because I was like, okay, we can play one game together like before you go to sleep because Aura obviously went to bed a little bit earlier. I think we pulled out like Candyland, some board game, which obviously she doesn't know how to play the ins and outs and the rules because she's 3. But when we were playing, she had another little character and it was Pete's, right? And every time, I swear to God, I would look away, I'd look back and it would move, and she'd be like, oh, Pete moved it. And I'm like, okay, Luna, like, you obviously moved it, you know? Like, she's 3, and I know she's just like, you know, she doesn't know how to play the game. Now I know it was literally this dark spirit that was moving it, but stay with me. I'm like, okay, Luna, sure. And then out of nowhere, we're playing, and the TV was on in the background, excuse me. And Luna goes, I love this song. And I'm like listening. I'm like, what song, baby? Like, I don't hear any music. And she said, oh, the song that Pete is singing to me. She said, it's a song that my daddy plays on his guitar because their dad played guitar, I guess. Like, I'd always see the guitar. Sometimes it'd be in the living room or sometimes it'd be in the parents' room. Like, when I'd go in there to grab stuff for the kids, it was just like always propped against a wall. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, remember what we said about Pete? Because I told her I didn't want her talking to Pete because, again, this felt like a dark energy. And it sucked because every time I was there, I felt like he was sitting in between me and her. Like, he was always, the spirit, Pete, was always hovering. It would never go away. So anyways, I'm like, what song? Blah, blah. And she's like, I'm trying to get her to describe to me again. She's 3. She doesn't really know how to describe it. And she says, no, Pete said he'll play for you. And I said, no, that's okay. Like, want anything to do with it? She said, no, he'll play for you. Just hold on. So I ignore it and we start playing this game again. Just moving little pieces across the board. And all of a sudden I hear the strum of a guitar. Just a solo strum, like an off chord. And I just get chills down my back because at this time the guitar was in the parents' room. I only knew that. I hadn't gone in their room that time, but because I heard it and their door was shut. And Luna jumps up. She's like, oh, I told you, Riley. Like, I told you. Pete said he'd show you the song. It's my favorite song. And I'm terrified. Like, I'm trying so hard to act cool. I don't know how this little girl is not so scared. But I'm just like, oh, okay, hold on. Let me just go look real quick because my immediate thought was like, maybe somebody's in the house, like a real person, because that sounded way too real. It literally was just a strum of a guitar. So I go into the parents' room, I turn on all lights, the guitar is just sitting against the wall. Nobody's in the house. I do a sweep, and I'm like really disturbed because every sweep I'm doing, I feel like something is just hovering and following me into every room I'm going into. So I finally sit back down with her. I'm like, okay, babe, let's watch like 10 more minutes of the show, and then like we're gonna go to bed. When I sat on the couch with her, it was the first time I felt like not super heavy, overpowering energy. And I'm like, whew, okay, like, but anyways, I was like, okay, this feels a little less heavy. Sorry, my dog's drinking water in the background. She's so loud. So I'm like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And I pick up the baby monitor right next to us. You guys know what's coming. You've seen the scary movies because it literally was just like that. Pick up the baby monitor to check on Aura. And the
literally gag when I think about this because it was so terrifying. I see a hand, right next to the baby. She's sleeping, she's swaddling, and it's a creepy hand where the nails are like this long, and it's just this black, shadowy hand just right next to her. And again, this is the first time I said I felt relieved, like I wasn't being followed. It's because it went in the other room. I freak out. I literally sprinted, ran, busted into Aura's room, woke her up because I came in the door so hot. She was crying and just felt that energy in that room was disgusting. I pick her up, I bring her back out to the living room. I'm like trying to explain to the parents when they come home, like they're gonna think I'm insane of why their kids are still awake. And I'm sitting on the couch with the baby and with Luna, and I forgot to turn off the baby monitor. And I literally hear just disembodied voices coming from the baby monitor. Terrifying, out of nowhere, loud. And I literally just shut the baby monitor off. And the baby ended up falling back asleep in my arms. Luna ended up falling back asleep, and she like fell asleep on me, like her little head was on my shoulder when the parents came home. I was like, sorry, they're just like so sweet, and they just wanted to sleep out here with me. Because I tried again to, like I've explained this in the other video, but I tried to kind of bring it up to them before, how like something I thought was going on in their house paranormal. And they looked at me like I was fucking insane. So I knew I wasn't getting anywhere with that. But that was also one of the terrifying times I experienced babysitting for those kids.
This is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life, and I wasn't even planning on making a video today, but I feel like I need to get out of my system because I have been welling up with tears and having full body chills from being scared. If you know me in real life, that never happens to me, so I feel like I just need to get out of my system. So this is that story. This happened 4 years ago. I was a freshman in college, and I was talking to this boy at the time, and he caught me when I was coming home for the weekend from college, and he asked if he could take me stargazing. I say yes. He picks me up. It's maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night. He drives me to the state park specifically because I had never been before. And specific to note about this state park next to my hometown, it isn't, when I say in the middle of nowhere, I legitimately mean in the middle of nowhere. The closest gas station is like multiple miles away. Nobody lives near there. Yeah, you get the gist. So we get there, he originally parks in front of this watchtower. We're walking up the watchtower. Something to note about me, you're gonna learn about two of my fears today. I am afraid of heights. The tower starts shaking from the small amount of wind, and I immediately am like, hey, I don't like this. We're about halfway up. I don't like this. Let's go down. So he's like, okay, I actually thought you might be scared, so I have an alternate way for us to go look at the stars, but we have to walk through the woods. Usually, and before I get any comments about that, I know, okay? I know. The only reason why I went is because he was like, it's like a minute and a half through the woods. Perfect, a minute and a half, no worries. I shouldn't have listened to him because it was a 10-minute walk, if not more. It is so dark in those effing woods that you cannot even see your hand in front of your face. I'm walking through the woods, I'm doing fine. My other fear is the dark. Okay, I'm a full-grown woman. I am exponentially scared of the dark. Like, unrealistically scared of the dark. We're walking, we hit a fence, and not just any fence, a barbed wire fence. By this time, my eyes are fully adjusted in the dark, and out in the distance, I can see a barn. Right next to the barn, I see a big silo, and if you don't know what a silo is, it's just this big metal structure that holds corn where I'm from. A lot of farmers have them. And I immediately ask him, is this someone's land? He doesn't really answer me, and I'm like, no, seriously, is this someone's land? Because I'm not going to get shot tonight. Because where I'm from, they're not going to ask you on their 5 acres of land what you're doing on their land. They're just going to shoot you because they don't know who you are at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Or I guess what you are. So finally he tells me it's someone's land, and I'm like, I'm not trespassing on someone's land. Like, no thanks. 3 strikes and you're out. I've walked through the woods. I have tried to conquer my fear of heights, and I'm walking in the dark. No. This is no. So finally he's like, okay, fine. Like, we'll go back to the car and I'll drive you home. As we're walking, I don't know what it was. The hair on the back of my neck suddenly stood up. I start to feel like someone is watching me. And all my girlies with anxiety like me, you know what I'm talking about. But this was different. This was different. This was like burning 2 holes in the back of my head because they're staring so hard. And it was so bad that I kept turning around and there was literally no one there. My eyes are fully adjusted at this point. There is no one there that I can see. And I start walking so close to this dude that I'm flat tiring his shoes, which means I'm like stepping on the back of his shoes every couple of steps, and he's getting super mad at me. But eventually I just grab his arm and I say, there is something out here with us. And I made sure to whisper it because at the end of the day, if there is a living human being out there, I don't want them knowing that I feel like something is wrong. And number 2, it was really quiet out there, like deafeningly silent. And he immediately tells me like, Elena, it's okay. Like your anxiety, it's okay. I understand that you're scared of the dark, but everything's gonna be fine. Like there's no one else out here. There's no other cars. Everything's gonna be fine. We take probably 3 steps and start to hear rustling. And immediately, this is when my breath literally is taken away. Like I'm like, I can't breathe. And again, he's like rubbing my back and he's like, it's okay. Like there is seriously no one else out here. You're gonna be fine. We're walking for maybe a minute. We have our flashlights out. From our right, a rock doesn't tumble out. It is thrown out into the middle of the path that we're walking. I mean, like, right in front of us. Like, someone threw it. This was a game time decision, right? Right. I left him in the woods. I ran so fast, I left him in the woods. I have never ran faster in my entire life. In all my running girlies, I ran for a minute. Sprinted for a minute. I get to his car and I'm trying the door handles and I immediately am going through all these scenarios. I'm like, what am I gonna do if if there is a person in the woods? So I'm trying the door handles. I'm going to like literally every door and all of them are locked. And all of a sudden I hear him giggling and like jogging out of the forest. And he was like, that rabbit really scared me. A rabbit? And I probably look disgusting at this point, but I legitimately lost my mind on him. I was like, since when do rabbits pick up rocks and throw them at people? Since when has that ever happened? But anyways, we get in the car, we drive off. The whole time I'm asking him, what do you think that was? What do you think that was? Do you think that was a real person? Do you think that was a ghost? What was that? And I don't think he took me very seriously at the time because he was like, whatever. Needless to say, I never talked to him ever again. And now I will elaborate on why it's so scary to me. I don't think that was paranormal by any means. Because when you experience something paranormal, it's almost like an instantaneous thought, right? You're trying to rationalize. You're trying to go through the scenarios in your head on how it is possible that that happened. This was different. I have never felt so fearful in my entire life. And let me ask you this. When you get home late at night, maybe after a night out, or when you get home from work, school, etc., what do you think you're going to see when you turn the light on in your room? Probably some decor, probably your bed, your desk, maybe a pet lives there, I don't know. But you anticipate on what you're going to see because you're prepared for what you're going to see. I'm not comparing bedrooms in the woods, but I was not anticipating someone else to be out there because there's no cars out there. There was no way for someone to get out there if they didn't get there before the sun went down, if you catch my drift. And I think there's something, at the end of the day, there is something so deeply frightening about knowing someone was watching you the whole time. And there is something equally as frightening knowing you never saw them. And then you have to think about a plethora of things. Like, why was that person following 2 teenagers in the woods without making their presence known? How did that person get out into the middle of the woods in the middle of the night? I left a key part of the effing story out. When we got there and we got our little pass, the state trooper or whoever was working there told us that we were the last people going in. So be that as you may, moral of the story, you never know. Don't watch this video at night when you're trying to go to bed, especially if you sleep alone. You've been warned. The story that was sent to me by somebody who wishes to remain anonymous has got to be the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if y'all are ready for this one. I know I wasn't. But if you made it this far, you probably love scary stuff as much as I do. Just remember, you asked for this. You stayed. Let's get into it. For the sake of the story, we will call this person Becky. So Becky's lived in her house for 2 years on September 1st. She's heard noises a few times during those years, but she's never experienced anything that really scared her to her core until recently. Earlier this year, her father was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. Her and her dad were extremely close, and sadly, he lost his battle on June 30th. A few months prior to his passing, he was placed on hospice. However, he was still alert and oriented. One day, Becky, her fiance, and her son were all driving to dinner when her son said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." Becky was like, "Okay, what's up?" Becky's fiance looks at her and says, "Just listen to him. He already told me this morning." Her son proceeds to tell her, "Mom, I saw Papa." Becky was like, "Yeah, son, we go see Papa every day." He said, "No, Mom, I saw Papa in our house. I saw him 3 times. One time he was standing in my doorway just looking at me. And the second time he was running by my door and went into your room. And then the third time I only saw his face and he was just peeking in the doorway at me." He then told his mom he wasn't sick Papa, he was normal Papa. He went on to tell Becky what her dad was wearing, and he described exactly what her dad's work uniform was. Becky immediately started hysterically crying, and she was like, "Oh my God, I have to call my dad." She called her dad and everything was fine. He felt fine, nothing was wrong. He was more worried about her. Fast forward to now last week, Becky was laying on the couch talking to one of her best friends. It was the middle of the night because she's a night shift worker and her friend goes into work in the middle of the night. She hangs up the phone with her best friend and it was around 3:30 in the morning. A few minutes go by and she sees this dark figure that's like 6-7 foot tall that looks like it's wearing some kind of cloak of some type go from her son's room down the hallway to her room. She was frozen in fear and texted her best friend what she saw. That evening, before going into work again, she decided to tell her fiance what she had seen. She was hesitant to do so because he doesn't really believe in a lot of things. Nonetheless, she tells him and he just stared at her. She's like, "I know you don't believe me." He said, "No, Becky, on Wednesday night while you were sleeping, I saw it twice." He said it was just standing on your side of the bed and just staring at me. He saw it once at 1:30 in the morning and then he went back to sleep and saw it again when he got up to get ready for work at like 4:30 in the morning. And he said that time he blinked and it was gone. He said he didn't tell her because he didn't want to scare her, but also he just didn't think she'd believe him. Towards the end of summer, he got up in the middle of the night one night and Becky felt him get up and then get back into bed, but she felt somebody standing behind her staring at her. She said she was too scared to roll over and look. She could feel it staring at her. Fast forward to this past weekend, her son comes to her again and says, "Mom, I need to tell you something." He proceeds to tell her that while he was using the bathroom a few minutes ago, he felt like somebody was watching him. He said he turned to look and there was a dark figure standing in Becky's bedroom doorway, leaning out looking at him. He said he could see what looked like stringy hair hanging down. Whatever this is, she's terrified that it took on the identity of her dad and that maybe her son has welcomed it into their home. She's looking for help, answers, anything. She needs advice. She's desperate for advice and suggestions on how to get this thing out of her house. She feels like she's tried everything. The only other weird thing that she's noticed is that all of a sudden she's being overran by spiders, but that just might be the time of the year, but it hasn't happened in years past. I can't wait to hear what y'all think about this one in the comments. As always, send me your scary stories.